So, welcome to Philadelphia Walks PTSD. My name is Sharon Cole, or Sharon or Cole, whatever you want to refer to me as. No big deal. As I like to say, rat, pig, horse, cow, dog, lizard, dinosaur, hippo, whatever. In a good way, I don't care. These words mean different things to different groups: religious sects, sects, gangsters, mobbers, cults, mafias. Everybody has their own references. You can stick it in the Urban Dictionary and find 10 different definitions for the same thing, which kind of solves the problem of believing that the entire world thinks one thing about the word horse or lizard or dinosaur or what have you. So anyway, that's just a little thing I always start off with, just because that would be the easiest form of gang stalking. But it can be very detrimental. I have had clients way in the past, and we all have to work, so we can't just up and leave our jobs, or every single client. But I had several anchors placed in my brain, is what they would call it mentally. So if it happens enough, and then people reference it enough, it becomes like a pen clicking annoying thing, or worse. But I've had people actually say, "Look at the dog," while I was the only one around on a very snowy blizzard day, and with kids, and I'm looking around thinking, are they talking about me? I wasn't even walking a dog at that point. I was headed to a client's house to walk a dog. I also had a client kind of hold his dog with a leash and looked at me and the dog, saying, "Good girl, no barking. Good girl, no barking." And then those stickers came out saying, "Wag more, bark less." And it's all great to be positive. I'm totally about being positive, unless your life is in danger. Then you're allowed to complain. You are allowed to complain or whine. I used to be afraid to whine. Like, there was sort of this thing up, growing up, where it's like, stop whining. I didn't really whine. I was a very quiet kid, but I would hear this all the time, like, stop whining, stop whining. But it translated in my brain to, what if you're not I was afraid to complain about anything. It is normal and okay for someone to say, ouch, I'm trying to think of like little kids, like, I'm stuck in this high chair without, and there's a strap under my butt and I'm hurting. You're allowed to say stuff like, ouch. I was even afraid to say stuff like that. I was in such a world and an environment where it's like, don't make a sound. It's in the realm of the woman on a bus who wants her kids to be quiet because she doesn't want to mess everybody else up. Afraid to look. There's like a million reasons that a woman's like afraid and so oppressed, right? It's in that realm. And whenever I hear, even today, I have a distant relative who often says to one of his children, stop whining. And it's like, I want to slap them upside the head, because there is a difference between whining and someone being able to have a voice or not have a voice. And I know some kids whine. I totally get it. I know kids whine and it's annoying, but there is this weird jump where someone could switch it into the realm of, I'm not allowed to say anything or complain about anything. I have to be okay with everything. But if someone expresses, even invisibly to themselves, in a room out loud, I don't like this because I experienced this, that, and the other, somehow that gets heard, and maybe the situation could be fixed, because it's unfair to not have a voice at all, to be so subjugated. So anyway, that's not that could be part and parcel of my topic today. It is day, whatever it is, 124 of my one video each day, 365 day donor campaign, raising money for a life lost, tortured, stolen. I was deprived, I was tortured, and still am to a degree. It's much better these days, thank God. The pandemic, oddly, kind of helped. A move away from Philadelphia and back helped, but the pandemic might have helped quite a bit, because people who were used to operating in a certain way because their ruler dictated it so, they could no longer good and gather on a target. There's no good in the gathering that they were doing. So I am unable to lead like the things that small dreams are made of. Like to own a house, pay on a mortgage, have a cat, a dog. I mean, those aren't really small dreams. Those are big things. It's hard to get those things. Some people take it for granted because it came so easily, because maybe they were conveniently somewhere while other people are retiring, and we'll just take over this property and that property, and they're in a position to do so because they haven't really explored the world that much. So, with that said, I'll get onto my topic here. I sort of lost my little dreams. Just how cool, I'm in Florida. I'm looking at all these people who live, like, say, in Turkey Creek Forest or even the Duck Pond or various areas in Gainesville, Florida. And it's like, you're kidding. That person has been able to get a home and pay a mortgage. And I spent all these years hauling ass, working my ass off, trying to, and then getting tortured on top of that. So, and I can't even figure out how to make enough money. All these years peddled, go to a university, go to this, go to that. I do believe having a good education is good. It helps people in ways beyond a job per se. But in the end, it kind of sucks if you can't even have a cat, can't even afford to have a cat and a dog, or just a small, modest home. So the topic today is about controlling someone to the point of that person never gets to lead. They're singled out. It would be like an altar boy singled out by the predatorial priest. It is like that very much. And there are all these people doing the bidding for that figure. That's basically it. But I've been deprived the ability to figure out I can't even figure it out. Because for a second, I'll be hopeful, like, okay, maybe I can find a job over here, or I can find and some people attribute it to depression or what have you. I totally get that. I've already been through a struggle, but what happened in 2011 was so bad, so blatant. There are high-level figures in Philadelphia who are ignoring what happened, and they know it. They are part of the problem. They know it. And they allowed this to go on for so long. Why? Because I don't know why. They love controlling people. They need people to be down here in order to feel important up here, because they hate themselves so much. There are people up here, and they know their lives are built on lies and deceit and the forming of distrust. They know their lives are built on a show and a fallacy. Some of these people are up here in law firms and so on and so on, and it is an all-out illusion. They don't even do what they say they're doing. It's more about showing that America is a melting pot. It's more about showing that we're democratic, a democracy, that we have rights and we're supposed to strive for our rights. And they're not even doing the job that they purport to do. Some. It would be like there are actual fake companies in place to help America keep the illusion. I don't know how it works. Believe me, I've even tried to reach out to people for justice, and it's like it falls on deaf ears. They need money, so they would need big companies to pay them. You see what I mean? They don't want to help someone who's coming by rubbing two pennies together. But my point today is I was robbed of even the opportunity and a chance of a normal life. With all the education, it's hard to explain. It seems one way, and I'm sure there are millions of other people who could be in similar positions, but depending on the community in which they grow up in and how controlling the higher forces are. That is true. You could be in a community where the controlling forces are so bad, because there are people who sort of manage communities depending on their role or their stature in society. And they sort of finagle and they try to keep everybody happy, but they might be a little heavy-handed in one direction to make sure we got to keep these people over here while my kids are over here. You guys can sign up to go to the military, the army, to get a ticket out of Dodge, but my kids aren't going to do that. It's in that realm. Kind of. So in my case, I was made to believe I'd be murdered the fourth Monday of January 2011. It was an orchestrated series of events. All kinds of things were in place to give me a full-on experience, like a surround sound movie experience, and so forth and so on. I was scared shitless. I tried to call my mom the next day after calling my sister and the police the night before, or during the events. And when I called, doo-doo-doo, we're sorry, the phone number has been disconnected, or whatever it said, it was the doo-doo-doo sound, which happens, I keep hearing it across the street when people try to log in to go to Y6, Yoga 6, or Vanity Fair, whatever, across the street in this building here. I still hear that doo-doo-doo. So in a way, that's gang stalking. Their callbacks on the building across the street feeds gang stalking. That would be a plant. That's an anchor. Just like good girl, no barking. And me being called a dog so much that it's just like, it starts to bear, holes were born into the brain. And I had to start untangling things because it got so crazy in here. The city was a total vortex of hell, wreck. But point being, whoever the controllers are or the puppet masters of a lot of people, not just a target, a lot of people, they need the number one target to stay in place a certain way. It is like pulling someone out. This is my little pet. And if she gets too social and has too many friends, then that'll mess it up. It's like a controlling boyfriend or girlfriend. They need to keep you over here in the corner. And in order to feel important. It is in the realm. I have had this experience where I've even sort of somewhat dated people and they kind of picked me because they felt so insecure and inferior to their normal surroundings. Maybe they're the son of an SOC member at a large corporation, operating committee, senior operating, or, the son of a guy, somehow I've had dating situations or short-term relationship situations with people who were sons of semi-important people, but they chose me because they were kind of the black sheep of the family. And in a way, I was lower or less than, and I wasn't a snob or a bitch in the sense of some people may see me a certain way because of where I live. I know I don't come across a certain way, but I know there are women out there who seem super assertive and they always telling people what to do. And I would specifically be chosen because I don't do that. I don't like that. It's not who I am. And I never want to be like those types of people. It's not about saving my life. That it wouldn't work anyway. And in fact, technically these days I do say stuff. But it is like having someone who needs a little pet, you stay here. Oh, Sharon wants to be social now. Okay, now we got to create. We'll allow her to go over to Kelly Writer's house and join in with the writers groups there. But we have to orchestrate some people and make sure some people are in the mix. It is like Truman Show-ish. I have this little thing on the ground and some people are like this with their kids. They make sure their wife is over here at her part-time. We have our kids over here. That way I can go down here and watch TV. Or there are people who know how to manipulate everybody around and they get to be in charge all the time. And the wife is none the wiser, doesn't even know she's being manipulated to not be at home when certain company comes over. Or it's very controlling, this dynamic that I'm talking about. So every time I venture out and think, okay, obviously, do I really want to walk dogs? Not really. There are some benefits because it's not an office space where you have to put up with everybody's personalities. But in general, I would like to have normal things like a house, a cat, a dog, have friends stop in from time to time. They even prevent you from really having friends, from truly having relationships with other people who might stop in and be like, oh, I thought I'd stop by for a visit. How cool is that? People just stopping by for a visit. Great, I'll throw some coffee on the pot or tea or whatever, and let's hang out. What's going on? Just little, whatever you call it, chit chat or whatever. So those dynamics come into play with gang stalking. Large groups who are technically possibly controlled by a leader, a gang leader, a cult leader, a political leader, or so forth and so on, a religious leader, whatever. They want to make sure someone like me, a target, Sharon, doesn't really get everything, what she wants. And for many, many years, finding relationships has been a major goal. I was able to find some people while living in the neighborhood and sort of enjoying the neighborhood. participating in a running group. I participated in a million things. I volunteered with several groups, and I started to find people to hang out with or do things with in a healthy way. And then it was almost as if Sharon got happy for a second and got a little bit too free from the restraints of whoever the controllers are. And bam! And right quick, where are those people today? Not one single person who I knew in 2010. There's one, and I feel like he was assigned to have coffee with. Two. There are two core people. Those same two people texted me while I visited my dad in Florida. I guess to sort of make a showing, like Sharon does have friends. It's not like she's some, way far behind than everybody else. Everybody has to complain about whether Sharon's social or not growing up, when really I was traumatized because there are these things called the formative years. And if a parent goes missing, divorce or what have you, during the formative years, that wreaks havoc on a child's brain, on children's brains. Unsafe environment. This is proven, and there are a lot of people who see it as normal, but they're traumatized. They accept trauma as normal, as a normal thing. Well, everybody else lives high on the hog. That's exactly right. And the people who are high on the hog, they know what causes trauma. So anyway, Sharon's fine. Somehow that became an issue. This is too funny. Sharon doesn't know how to be social. There's an actual very deep reason. Distrust would be one. If a parent goes missing someday and takes up residence with someone else, that breaks a major, major trust bond that isn't really repaired. Even if you do your best to try to make it as good as possible, to try to mend and try to explain, it kind of doesn't matter. It will always exist. And I'm not saying everyone should stay in marriages. Clearly, if something's not working or something weird, I totally understand that weird things can happen. It's like, we got to back out of this. I totally get that. But I'm just saying a lot of repair needs to be done to make sure that trust, it isn't always successful. But point being, who comes in as the rescuer? And even Dr. Phil has talked about this. When certain people aren't in place, like usually father figures are intimidating enough to keep predators at bay. Sorry, ladies. Ladies have to work a little bit harder to be intimidating, even if you're kind of bitchy and crackly, and it's not the same. Women will never get the same respect as men. I'm sorry. I don't mean that to be sexist. In a way, I'm saying it's not fair. That is an actual fact. Predators always assume they can bypass a woman, and that's half the battle. Regardless of how strong you are. If a man is in place, that is a huge deterrent. And I was going to make a point about having a man in place to protect kids and stuff like that. Right. Predators zoom in right quick. It is like radar. Alone. That it is easy. It is innate. It goes back to, some sort of animal philosophy. That's how easy it is. So what other powers that be will create dynamics to make sure families get broken down? And that some people are alone in order to take advantage of them, even from way up high. There are dog whisperers, and maybe from like 3 blocks away, they can still control their dogs. I've been walking dogs, and I'm like, you are kidding. This dog, it's like they pre-program the dog to poop in front of people's houses on purpose. It gets crazy out there, even with dog walking. Hey, Sharon, we now need you to go down the elevator. No, take these stairs. No, What if people can people whisper or dog whisper and control their little... So that dynamic is in play. We need to have a little pet prize in order to feel good about ourselves. People who believe they can puppet people, they only feel good if they can have a little person, and it's like a prize. a prize, but so being too social will kind of mess it up a little bit because other dynamics come into play and other people will see what's going on a little bit like, this is interesting. I feel like someone's sort of like, there's a wall around Sharon or Target. I want to know what's up. And they might have enough power to tear down that wall, right? East Berlin. And what? Gorbachev, tear down that wall. So the puppet master, per se, or the people whisperer, or the handler in the sky, from whatever agency gets to do this, types of people, they're afraid to have too many people come into the mix because it'll mess up their prize winning achievements. The problem is most people, basics. I kind of want to have people hanging out. I don't have a partner or anything. I wouldn't mind having one. I have no idea how to have one. I don't know how to reel somebody in and force them to have breakfast with me every day. Or do I want to wake up with people, every separate bathrooms, please. But you know what I mean? There's a whole mix in here, but that came up as a thing in gang stalking. That there's a very controlling factor going on. They need the person to not be too messed up by other people. The problem is I'm here longing for my peers to come in. Hey, let's hang out. Hey, you want to stop over for brunch? Or I'm going to come by with some donuts. I'll come by with some vegan organic donuts. But you see my point. What do you say? Okay, if I stop by? Or this happened this morning. Do you mind if I stop by? Or this, that, and the other, or this weekend, or after work, or what have you. I actually can't figure out how to have those basic, normal things. And these are very healthy ingredients. And that's all I have to say. So I could go on and on, but there are people out there, and they might even have moms or dads or what have you, and they make sure, okay, well, if so-and-so's coming over, we need this person over here and this person over here. All right, we're good. Honey, didn't you want to work that extra shift? Or weren't we thinking about going on vacation? Don't you want to work that extra shift? That's controlling. When people are equal, it's more like people come up with their own, I was thinking about working. Great. Okay. Whatever you want to do. That's awesome. But when someone's always recommending or suggesting, yes, oh, right, honey, of course I do. That's a little bit too controlling. Someone has an agenda. Okay. So thank you so much and have a beautiful day on your terms.